Good morning. This is take two. Apologies to anybody that was watching the first one because Maggie decided to go nuts. It was very loud, made me jump, and I had to scrap it. So this is take two. I'll go through the explanation again. So it was so hot where I live yesterday, and it was so hot in Foggy HQ. I was battling the heat all day. It caused a massive ME crash last night. So I'm semi-crashed, which is why no makeup, barely any clothing, but I do have clothes on. And I'm in my bedroom with my curtains drawn, one, because I'm sensitive to light today, and two, because it's keeping the room cool. Maggie is not in the vicinity, though she may go nuts downstairs and you might hear her. So apologies for that if anybody was affected by the noise earlier. Well aware how loud Maggie is. Anyway, so this video is about redefining gravity. Anyone that doesn't know, about 6 weeks ago, I launched a fundraiser. It's in the form of a fundraising concert challenge. I have no idea whether it's going to work, but I'm going to try my hardest. Please do check out www.redefininggravity.co.uk. If you're on X or Instagram, is at @rdgravity. Please do follow and share, spread the word, show the love. I literally want to put on an A-list celebrity musician concert for the benefit of ME/CFS patients in the UK, but obviously anything that's done in the UK will have a ripple effect worldwide. And I want to raise at least £1 million, because anyone that actually follows my advocacy every day will know that for the past 9 years, I've been playing nice. I've been doing the polite, please, 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 can we have some more money for research funding? Please, 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 can we have some vaccines? And can we have antivirals? And please, please. I'm not doing that anymore. Too many people are dying from ME and from suicide because they have ME and because it's simply not getting better. So I've reached my limit where being polite, I'll be professional and I'll be polite if I have to meet certain people on a day-to-day basis. However, I'm no longer going to beg. So now what I'm thinking is, yes, in the perfect world, the government, whichever government that is, but I just happen to be in the UK, but there is no government worldwide that adequately funds ME/CFS. Governments would adequately fund ME/CFS, and there would be no need for us to push hard for fundraising, but that's not happening. So now I'm thinking we do what, this is the perfect scenario in my head. We raise £1 million minimum. Be great if we raised a lot more than that. That £1 million helped to fund research into a biomarker. We get a biomarker, or we get a biomarker, and that proves beyond doubt that yes, we know it's beyond doubt anyway, but just to prove people that are like, no, you haven't got a biomarker. And that would encourage more researchers into the field, and that would be a positive step forward. Because it's going to be an A-list fundraising concept, it will also be a massive push for awareness. Because in theory, we can take control of our own narrative. I explained this during the launch. Redefining Gravity is the title because redefining gravity is kind of what keeps us on the ground, keeps us grounded. It kind of exists without anybody realizing that it's there. Well, at the moment, the narrative from the media, the narrative from the medical establishments is our gravity. And I'm talking about redefining it. So we take control of our own narrative. And by that, I mean, we create something so big, it can't be ignored by the media. So then while I've got their attention, I say, actually, you've been misleading people for decades. This is what ME is. People can die from ME. We've also got a really bad suicide rate. We need your help. And that's why we're taking the bull by the horns and we're going to do this fundraising concert. Okay. Anyway, so this morning, I had a bit of a lay-in. I didn't wake up till 7:15, which for me is a lay-in. I'm normally awake at like 5 o'clock. And I just laid in bed thinking, oh God, it's just so difficult. And I started going into this in the first take, so I'll have another go. So in the last 6 weeks, we've had ME charities in the UK acknowledge that the latest prevalence is now 1.25 million people have ME/CFS or post-COVID ME/CFS. 1.25 million. That's now been updated on their websites, but they haven't done a big push for, did you know there's now 1.25 million, which is what I would do if I was a national charity. I'd say, we've worked out the prevalence is this, just like they used to with the 250,000 stat, but they haven't done it. Other than myself, who's been pushing it, and a couple of other advocates, that new prevalence is not out there anywhere. So when I'm putting that on my social media feeds, it looks like I haven't got a diddly squat Scooby-Doo clue what I'm talking about. And I have to keep saying to people, have a look at the ME Association website. It's on there. It's not just me saying it. It's a national charity has said that. In fact, all the national charities got together and made a decision as to the new prevalence. I've only seen it on the ME Association website, but that's because I went looking for it just to confirm before I started tweeting and everything else about it. So there's that. But then literally within weeks, the Department of Health and Social Care interim plan was released, again, in collaboration with national charities. And they've said that 241,000 people have it, MECFS, but they have not explained, the government has not explained that 241,000 people have a confirmed diagnosis of MECFS, CFS or ME on their medical record. I only know that because I questioned it and I said, where the heck have you got that figure from? And Sonia from Action for ME said, we think that's the way to go because that's the confirmed cases. Well, how can that be the way forward when it's acknowledged by government and UK charities and ME organisations that it's incredibly difficult to get a diagnosis? So imagine people new to ME or MECFS, anyone that follows my advocacy will know I cannot stand the term CFS. But because MECFS is the consensus term, and to be honest, if you don't include CFS, you are actually excluding a massive chunk of our community, because I was given a CFS diagnosis, but I've actually got ME. I meet ME criteria. But by saying CFS is not ME, don't mention it, you are actually excluding me. I've actually seen Dr. Weir and he has confirmed that he would give me a clinical diagnosis of ME. So I'm confident that I meet the ME criteria. But yeah, so you can understand if you were new to ME or MECFS, you would think she hasn't got a clue what she's talking about. She's the only person saying that. And I keep pushing 1.25 million, because that in itself is huge. That's why the long COVID community always say we've now got 2 million people with long COVID. It's huge. It's huge. So why are we not doing the same? It kind of feels like, I don't know. We don't want people to know that this many people have MECFS. I don't know. There is one American scientist who has said we can't say that long COVID is MECFS. Well, no, I wouldn't say long COVID is. I'd say a subset meet the diagnostic criteria. And anyone that's followed my advocacy for years will know there is no clinical test for ME. You can't have a blood test or a scan to diagnose it. That's what we need. We need a scan and we need a biomarker. There was an interesting dipstick urine test that was in the news a little while ago. That would be good. Like literally, I think you might have ME. Do this dipstick if you've got a higher level of XYZ or no evidence of this chemical in your wee, then you're more likely to have. So if you meet the criteria and do this dipstick test, there's more likely chance you're not going to be misdiagnosed, which is amazing. Anyway, so I'm kind of getting a bit all the mixed messaging. So yeah, UK charities came out and said 1.25 million, but didn't publicise it apart from putting it on their website. So it's only people that would have been going to their website anyway that are seeing it. If they have done any publicising, I haven't seen it, which if I'm active in our community is telling, because if I don't see it, people that don't know anything about ME wouldn't have seen it either. And then to do the 241,000 without saying publicly, actually, these are the people that have got a clinical diagnosis, not the amount of people that probably have the disease, just haven't got a diagnosis. So there's that. And there's an awful lot of mixed messaging, but I do due diligence. I never say anything publicly unless I've seen at least 2 or 3 pieces of research that back up what I'm saying. So 1.25 million is the latest estimate. And we know damn well of at least half of those people, it's going to be at least 3-4 years before they get a diagnosis, if they get a diagnosis at all. So I have got doubts about redefining gravity. I know the need. I know how much we need this funding. But because of X's limited algorithm, the reach is really low. So I would encourage anyone, if you see any of my posts about redefining gravity, please share, comment, like, do whatever. Try and raise the profile a little bit, because at the moment it does feel like I'm shouting into the void. And all the journalists I'm contacting are either, where did you get 1.25 million from? Or, oh, well, the government's taking ME seriously now because they've done that interim plan. But has anyone actually read the interim plan? As the ME Research UK said yesterday, I think they wrote a blog, it's circulating on X, Twitter. They've said that the foreword written by Helen Whately, and I noticed this when it was published, and that's why I haven't been overly enthusiastic about the plan. I just thought, no, I know it sounds awful, but I didn't want to burst the bubble of some ME patients who are really enthusiastic and happy. And I just thought, no, you don't need to hear my opinion. But the foreword written by Helen Whately was literally along the lines of, we need to learn how to better help patients to manage their symptoms. We don't need that. We need research. We need them to help with the stigma. We need them to help with educating professionals so that we get diagnosed. I'm going to reinforce, we need research funding. We need research funding that's not spent on psychological research. The foreword itself did not do a very good job of either. It's a very good explanation of what the government thinks this interim plan is going to do, which I really hope not, because if that's all they're planning on doing is helping us manage our symptoms better, what is the point? All those severe ME patients struggling to fill that bloody form in, and all you're going to do is say pace a bit better. I think so. Anyway, yeah, so there's an awful lot of mixed messaging at the moment. And little old me is saying, hang on, people are dying, patients are starving in hospital. I'm doing things like MP, do your job for me. Have a look at stripylightbulb.com's website if you want to know what that's about. I'm getting MPs to read that actually the NHS in many places is failing ME/CFS patients. I'm contacting the UN and the World Health Organization and saying, can you please do a human rights inquiry, because it's that serious and we're not getting anywhere. This is ridiculous. Can you help? And then UK national charities are working with government, announcing that only 241,000 people have ME when actually 1.25 million meet the diagnostic criteria. And the 250,000 stat was already 15 years old. And we gain around, in a usual year outside of a pandemic, we gain around 9,000 patients. So that was massively out of date. And yet they've gone backwards without explaining that actually getting a diagnosis is incredibly hard. It's okay having it on your website, but if you are not mentioning it when you're in the press, if you're not doing an active publicity campaign to say, well, we're working with government and we've agreed, because I don't believe that they did that willingly. They've agreed, they've negotiated that they'll say that 241,000 people have ME or CFS, ME/CFS. But actually, that's only people that have got diagnosed. It's all kind of subtle and you have to read between the lines. I'm sorry, but if this is awareness raising, you need to be hitting people around the head with the basic facts in plain English. So these are all the things that I'm coming up against with Redefining Gravity. I knew it was going to be blooming hard. And now I can't remember what I said in take one. So I'm going to go through all of it again. So yeah, so the challenge with Redefining Gravity is to put on a fundraising concert for a minimum of 1,500 people to raise at least £1 million for ME/CFS biomedical research somewhere in the UK. Now, as I said in the launch event, I want A-listers, because I want it to replicate the Freddie Mercury HIV/AIDS concert, because anyone that says that this situation is now not as serious as the HIV/AIDS epidemic simply does not know enough about ME/CFS. because there were far less people with HIV/AIDS when they had the concert than there are now. There's like 4 or 5 times the amount of people with ME/CFS, and even if you only took those who were severe and very severe, we would still have more people affected than those that had HIV/AIDS in the UK when they had the Freddie Mercury concert. The reason there isn't a massive swathe of support for it is because a lot of people don't realise it's a spectrum disease. I didn't realise until I became an ME advocate. I just thought what I had is what every ME patient had. It's not. That's not the case. Simply not the case. My patient experience of ME is no way near a severe or very severe patient's experience. Oh, I should say I am wearing clothes in case I forgot to mention that in this video. So hot today. Anyway, yeah, so it's really difficult when I keep thinking, right, people need to know this, let's do this. And then, it might get retweeted maybe 5, 6 times because of the algorithm. And then something else that doesn't match what I've said is published by a national charity. It's really frustrating. Thing is, you don't know what's said behind closed doors, do you? You don't know what's been agreed. Oh, well, we'll say that if you say that. And we'll do that if you do that. Which is fine, but I'm not part of Forward ME. I don't want to be, because I feel like collaboration is great, but when you've got so many people collaborating and you have to check with each member and each party before any announcement's made or before any progress is made, it's actually a hindrance. I get enough done. More often than not, I tend to be doing the same work as Forward ME and getting the same responses. So anyway, yeah, so what I'm asking people to do, if they come across Redefining Gravity on any social media platform, if you know anyone in the media, please help me to get the word out. If you know any... Now, I started saying this a minute ago. I want A-list because we need their exposure. I could get Joe Blogs from, local artists that barely anybody's heard of, but locally has a good engagement. But I would reach maybe 3,000 people. If you do a big star like Miley Cyrus, I think yesterday I saw she has something. Now I could be wrong. I think she's got 54 million followers, something like that. It's huge, because I mistakenly thought that she'd liked one of my tweets, but she hadn't. It was like a parody account. I got very excited for about 5 seconds. But that's millions of people. Can you imagine if a retweet from one of these megastars, you would reach so many people? And then it's like, oh, well, they've liked or shared or commented on that. I'm going to follow them. And then, you know what I mean? The reach is much further. And to be frank, we deserve it. And any ME patient that says that our situation is not serious enough for an A-list benefit concert, I would argue that point till my last breath. How bad does it have to be before we deserve that? Decades and decades and decades of suffering. Stigma, neglect, abuse from some quarters. We need this, and we need it on a massive scale. No, I haven't been contacted by any UK charities who've said, oh, interesting idea, we'd love to, help, support, collaborate. Nothing. Mute. And I'm not surprised, because they don't tend to get involved with anything that I do. But it's a shame, because if they said, we'll retweet it so our followers get in touch with you, no, which is fine. But nobody's been in touch with me before I get any accusations of, you're not working with a charity, you're gatekeeping. No, I'm not. They know where I am. All it'll take is an email saying, love your idea, Sally, really want to get involved and help you. No, nothing. So yeah, get in touch, help me spread the word, and we'll do it. Next July, fundraising concert, hopefully raise £1 million, and it's going to Cure ME, who are the ME/CFS Biobank in London. And they do biomedical research. They also enable it worldwide. I've been in their office. I've said this a few times. I've been in their office, and they've got a world map on their wall with bits of cotton to show the reach of their research studies. And it's Canada, Brazil, Australia, all across Europe, America. So although I'm funding somewhere in London, it is enabling biomedical research internationally. You can donate to the Redefining Gravity Fund if you want to between now and the concert. It's literally to raise as much money as possible. There's merchandise, etc., etc. There is an Emmy Foggy Dog campaign, so please support if you can, either with buying stuff, helping me to spread the word, or asking people that you know to help. Maybe you've got friends or family who work in the music industry, friends or family that work in the media. Please do ask them to get in touch with me, because I can't do it single-handedly. I'm well aware I'm going to need help, but people that can specifically help with a concert or publicity. Anyway, I'm going now because I'm starting to flag. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll catch you later.